David is really telling here that word of God and the message of God and commandments for God are great, super truth, forever, and more precious than any gold or any human wealth or riches. And we all agree and say amen to that. Then we can go a little bit too much in that direction. We can try to read into Bible what we can't really find in the Bible. When we read Bible, we need to have this student-like approach where we really need to be careful how we interpret Bible. Even Peter said that sometimes Paul is writing letters that are really, really hard to understand, but he doesn't say, don't read them. What was the first scripture you ever read from the Bible? By yourself. Matthew 1:1. I would say that 90% of people, their first Bible verse would be actually the first Bible verse, starting with Genesis 1. That makes sense, right? So, let's read it together. Oh, book of Genesis. Starting in verse 1. Chris, until verse 3, please.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light.
Oh. And then on and on we go. So you read it. Oh, this is how it all started. There is sense of awe, sense of majesty, sense of God's glory. And then at least 3,000 questions popping out of after each verse. So we could read all the chapter 1, but we'll just start reading from verse 26 to 27.
Right. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them.
One very well-known verse, amazing verse, where we find how God created humans, how God created man and woman into his likeness. And then also one of the most confusing scripture for me, because it says in plural, let us make. So who? Wasn't it God omnipowerful? Couldn't he do it by himself? Why did he need any? Who is this we that he's talking about? And then again, so many questions. Let us read one more verse, although we could read many more. Well, paragraph. 6 from 9 to from 1 to 8.
Genesis 6.
Yep.
When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the earth. For I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord.
Okay, thanks. Oh, yet another fantastic story. Talks about, what does it talk about? Well, apparently people were so evil that they were beyond reparation. So God decided to wipe them out. That part we sort of understand. Now there is this weird part about these Nephilims or giants that came to be when, sons of God saw that daughters of men are pretty, so they married or whatever, and all of a sudden there are these Nephilims, giants. They were they existed at that time and later. Yeah. So you find the story about human wickedness. You find these impossible to interpret story about these giants that were living at that time and later after the flood. What do I make out of this? Why do we read these scriptures? Well, because reading Genesis is super exciting and everybody wants to get as much as it out of it, yet we can't help ourselves but to have question upon a question upon a question, at least when we are reading first 11 chapters of the Bible that are beyond or pre-historical time. When you come to Abraham, you can wrap your mind around it because you can put Abraham into some historical context, into existing countries, and then you can easily navigate. But first 11 chapters of the Bible are incredible and yet so confusing. Hence, why I said that, because a long time ago, there was a brother who borrowed me a book. It was a... Actually, he didn't borrow it. I borrowed it by myself. I actually, what would be the word? I confiscated the book, so to speak. He didn't have a chance, because I get a hold of that book before him, and then I never returned it to him. So I went into reading that book because, as you could know if you ever interacted with me, first 11 chapters of Genesis are my big, I don't know. It's my fantasy book, list of questions that are popping out of those first 11 chapters of the Bible. It's incredible. I have my own theories. I change theories over time, and yet I came to no definite conclusion. So finally, there is this book that will explain everything, right? And it's by Doug Jacoby, who we call man with two brains, super educated, knows how to put things, to be very concise. And this other guy that I could care less about. And I start reading, and then I was puzzled because I didn't get what I wanted. It was emotionally hard for me to read. Super hard. Why? I was expecting easy explanation on evolution, about what happened before and after the flood, who were the Nephilim, and all the questions that I have. And then I receive different sort of answers. In fact, it was so different that I still need time to digest it emotionally and intellectually and spiritually, to be able to deliver it into a meaningful and comprehensive message, and which I would really love to. But at this point, this became to be more for me the story of the two books, and I'll let you know what does it mean. So, the story of two books, yeah. Now, I have a little bit of a question for you, so you're free to engage. How does God communicate to us and with us? What are the ways God is communicating with humans? Word. Good. Prayer. Through other people? Through angels. Okay. Dreams. Our desire. Nature. Definitely, when you look at the nature, you see God. So there are ways how God communicates to us. So one would be through Bible, Scripture, through Jesus Christ, because His full will and all the special revelation was completely clarified and exposed and fulfilled in Jesus Christ. Then there is this, we can say, history of Israel, which is Old Testament. You can find a lot about God there. And then nature, conscience. Sometimes you feel, guilt-ridden. That's basically God telling you, don't do it, or think twice. Some said about that God speaks to others. It's true. There is this wisdom that sometimes is with super, with old people, with spiritual people. Then sometimes it's with our peers, counseling. Sometimes it's visions. In Bible, there are visions, there are dreams, there are even talking directly through angels or loud voices that some people could hear, others could not. But let's try to simplify it to story of two books. One is Book of Works, and the other is Book of Words. Book of Works is basically God's nature. We spend way too little time in nature. We are detached from nature. But even we, city rats, are conscious enough of the nature. When you look at a beautiful, beautiful morning like this, or when you look the sky full of stars, there is something like you start having this like, oh, this is amazing. When you look the sea, when you look this look from the top of the mountain, it's just amazing. There are so many different experiences we felt. And then there are also all these crazy documentaries about depths of the universe. Things that we can't, it is impossible for us to comprehend the depth of universe. You hear these words like 100 billion light years, whatever. It's much more than 100 football fields, let me tell you. I like that, so sometimes people try to mock Americans that are super simplifying everything. So moon, that's much further than 20 football fields. So that's how you envision that. Wow, it's really that far away. Just nothing against Americans. I just like the joke. It's super funny. But, can you just try to wrap your mind around this? You look at those stars. Even the closest of those stars is tens of thousands light years away, which means you are looking at deep history. When that light was produced from that star, that was much, much before than Abraham lived. At that time, mammoths roamed the earth. And we are talking about the closest star. How about those that are, deep in universe? You are literally looking at the history. We really don't know how many of these stars exist at the moment at the place where they are. We just see their light that is millions and millions of years removed. Wow. What do you do with that? That's only one fact about universe. When you look all these depths of the sea, like you are looking at the creatures that are, 500 meters deep, or those underwater fishes, with the ugly, eyes and with this little bit lightning belt, whatever that is. Incredible. What do you do with that? You look at that and you say, no, God. Yeah, it just came out of nowhere it came, Do you know that even distances between planets in our solar system are made in a way that is that makes Earth being super protected, that all the space junk and all the meteorites will hit either Saturn or Jupiter or Mars, but will never ever reach Earth. And then even if a couple of those, small shrapnels of space trash comes to our orbit, it will be burned by atmosphere. And what you see is nothing. There is a little bit of space dust that comes on the Earth. And that's all that it is. And for, in the history of a million years, there are probably only 2 or 3 cases where meteorite hit hard and destroyed the life on the Earth. And none of that happened any recently. So how that can be? And everywhere else, you see these planets being bombed by the space trash. Well, there is God made sure that everything will be protected. But anyhow, everybody can see that. Me, you, and people who lived 10,000 years ago, even those cavemen, everybody could see that, and we can all understand that there is God. When you deny that, you are trying to be deliberately stupid and in denial. And that goes same for, unschooled people as well as for scientists. Scientists just, grow up in their mind so large that there is no God. But the reason is, they have no excuse. Nobody has excuse not to believe in God, because you just need to look through the window. Yeah. You just need to breathe fresh air. Try to be without air for 30 seconds. It's not fun, and we take it for granted and everything else. So, but then God made himself known through his works, but it is similar like watching someone's, like a famous person's house. You see that house, you understand that they have money, they have taste. Some like more shabby chic, other more like about, modern, just a very simplistic arrangement. So by looking at someone's house, you can learn a lot about that person, right? And also that person obviously exists because it owns a house like that. But you don't know about that person. In order to meet that person and get, you don't know if that person is happy or sad, what are his or her aspirations. You just can acknowledge different things about that person from what you see. But in order to have a relationship with that person, to understand him or her better, you need to engage in some kind of, relationship. Verbal discussion is what most people do. People who can't speak or there are different languages, they find a way to mutually understand each other by, sign language or whatever. But even that, there is this unverbal communication sometimes happen between two people who can't talk. It's limited, but at least there is some communication. So to know someone, you need to know of him. And that's why we have Book of Words. So instead of going through different chapters of Genesis, today we'll read Psalm 19. I'll read it in Croatian because I love it, how it's written. I think this is one of the better translated Psalms in the Bible because there is not only a message of it, but also a rhythm of it in a poetical way. So we read from 2 to 8 or 1 to 7 in English because it's slightly different numbering. Let's read first 7, which in English is 6 verses. 1 to 6 in English. Nebesa slavu Božju ukazuju, navješta svod nebeski dijelo ruku njegovih. Dan danu to objavljuje, a noć noći glas predaje. Nije to riječ, ni govor nije ni glas što se može čuti, ali po zemlji razliježe se jeka, riječi sve do na kraj svijeta sežu. Ondje suncu razape šator, te ono ko ženik iz ložnice ide. Ko div kliče kad prelijeće stazu, izlazi ono od nebeskog kraja i put mu se opet s krajem spaja. Ne skriva se ništa žaru njegovu.
The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day, they pour forth speech. Night after night, they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. In the heavens, God has pitched a tent for the sun. It is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, like a champion rejoicing to run his course. It rises at one end of the heavens and makes its circuit to the other. Nothing is deprived of its warmth.
Let's say you look at the sky. How about studying mathematics? Everybody hates that. That is not from God, that's from devil. Actually, God is best mathematician in the world because if there is no mathematics and laws of mathematics explain things as they are, very exact. By that we can measure things, and by that we can also construct things. We can fly because of mathematics. If there is no mathematics, we couldn't fly. If there is no geometry, we couldn't understand that Earth is not flat. I'm just kidding. Actually, that's much more modern thing. That there is misconception that people in the Middle Ages thought that world is flat. Many knowledgeable people didn't think that Earth is flat. Actually, how in the world could Vasco da Gama go to India if he thought that that Earth is flat, or Magellan, go other way around? No, they have this lots of mathematics on their paper, calculating how they can get from one place to another based on the actually fact, a known fact at that time that Earth is a sphere. Anyhow, DNA. My cousin, she is microbiologist, she's doctor, she's complete atheist. She said, no one with a clear conscience and sound mind can study DNA and say there is no God. It's evidence of intelligent design. it is utterly impossible that DNA is created out of itself. So whole theory of evolution is actually not scientific. While the evolution as a process, exists as a scientific process, theory of evolution, how things came to be, is actually metaphysics, because they explain that things came to be out of nothing just by sheer coincidence, which is in correlation with the laws of thermodynamics. It says, if you heard a word called, my mind's stuck, pomozi mi, Ančice, kako se kaže kad stvari propadaju, kad se stvari raspadaju? No. No. I'll come to it later. Anyhow, entropia. So what does it mean? That means, very simplified, without things by itself will degrade if there is no outside power that will stop it. For example, leave this room as it is and return in 100 years. The outcome will be broken windows, lots of dust, big spiders, and decay. And some of these things will rot, go rusty, or maybe even be completely devastated. Depends on outside factors. That's the effect of that's entropy. But then if you clean it, if you maintain it, it can be here even after 500 years. In Split, people live still in the Diocletian Palace built in 300s. So even after the 17th centuries, people still live there. Why? Maintenance. Hence, you are rebuffing entropy. Anyhow, main point here is, that, God made himself visible and known to all. No one has excuse. That's book of works. But then there is also, book of words, which is Bible. And we enjoy reading Bible, so we'll read some more in this psalm. We'll read verses 8 to 11, which is 7 to 10 in English. Savršen je zakon Jahvin dušu krijepi. Pouzdano je svjedočanstvo Jahvino neukoga uči. Prava je naredba Jahvina, srce sladi. Čista je zapovjed Jahvina, oči prosvjetljuje. Neokaljan strah Jahvin ostaje svagda. Istiniti sudovi Jahvini, svi jednako pravedni, dragocjeniji od zlata, od mnogo zlata čistoga, slađi od meda samotoga.
The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes.
Can you read two more?
The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The decrees of the Lord are firm, and all of them are righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. They are sweeter than honey from the honeycomb.
David here is talking about, law of God. He really loved Bible. He really loved what he had written as scriptures. Bear in mind, it was much less than we had. So what he had is the law of Moses and maybe some early writings, but very few of them. So basically, he had first couple of chapters of Bible, if even that. But then he loved it. He really, really loved it and enjoyed it. And here in a poetic experience, he said that law of God is really good for his soul. It's very trustworthy. Even people that are completely uneducated can learn from it. That laws of the God and statutes of God are completely right and righteous, and they are giving encouragement and joy to heart. It is eye-opening because we can see the truth. And also there is this fear of God that stays forever, which is really interesting because by knowing and learning more, people, our fear of God is decreasing. We are so what would be the word? We feel safe in the environment. We have electricity, we have running water, it's warm, we are safe, and it's easy to lose fear of God. You know, when you are on the open sea, there is some fear of God there. Or when there is a big thunderstorm coming and you're out in the open. Yet, you know, you run at home and all of a sudden your fear of God declines. Oh, I'm good now. I could care less about thunderstorm because I'm safe. You know, obviously God gave us this opportunity, but then also we need to be always aware of fear of God. Fear of God doesn't really change. What does it mean? It means that, you know, God is same before and after, and we should have this reverence of God because God can do anything. We can't fool God. We can't play with Him. We can't outwit Him. And just the sheer fact that we live in 21st century and have very comfortable lives doesn't mean that God can't do the same things to us as to the caveman, you know. And plus, there is this eternity thing lingering. It's not only about the physical safety. So anyhow, David is really telling here that, you know, word of God and the message of God and commandments for God are great, super truth, forever, and more precious than any gold or any human wealth or riches. And we all agree and say amen to that. Yet, why I'm saying these things, you know, then we can go a little bit too much in that direction. We can try to read into Bible what we can't really find in the Bible. Bible becomes a book with answers for all. Although that's true in a metaphysical level, you know, because there, through Bible, we can get to know God. You know, Bible is no science book. Hence, when I open first 11 chapters of Genesis, or other parts of the Bible for all that matters, and when I start thinking of, okay, when did this happen? Who's this guy? How this evolution plays into there? You know, I may not find answers because Bible is not the book with all the answer. Bible is not scientific book. Bible is not a book about geophysics. Bible is not a book about history for all that matters, which means I won't find those answers there. If God really wanted to explain everything, just imagine trying to explain DNA. If you try to understand DNA with all your college education and all your smarts, there is a big chance that you would be, you know, now rewind 500 years later or 2,000 years later. What would people do with the explanation of DNA? Also, things that we are learning now could be completely outdated within 100 years. Or discoveries that science will find will have even completely different implications than, you know, what we are learning now. The thing is, science explains how things work, you know, and we can't deny the truth from the science. But then again, it's explaining how. Whereas science cannot, in and out of itself, explain why, even who. These are the answers we can find in the Bible. So Bible is not a scientific book. We shouldn't be reading it, giving us exact answer about evolution, when God exactly created Adam, how old is earth, or other things, or for all the historical evidence, because Bible is not such type of the book. Bible is a book of relationship between God and a man. Hence, talking about first 11 chapters of Bible, when I'll be telling you about it, you will just take this. It is basically the rebuttal. This is the answer. This is, if you want to say, apologetics to the pagan world of that time. World that believed in certain principles and certain cosmogony and all the plethora of gods that existed back then. And, you know, when you read it, you know, there is a God navigating through very similar stories that they were accustomed, but with a very different God. One example I will give you. Who heard about Epic of Gilgamesh? Have you ever heard about a guy called Gilgamesh? What is he known for? So you just heard about him. Well, these people called Sumerians, they lived a long time ago, like 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. They were very smart. Well, they wrote a lot of books. And, well, surprise, they wrote about the flood. When you read their account of flood, which is, you can find it Epic of Gilgamesh, you can find it in any library because it's well preserved and they discovered many copies of this epic. So it's quite known, easy to read. You will find almost incredible similarities to account of flood in Bible. Now we know that even if Moses put it in writing, which he probably didn't, by himself, it would be maybe 1,500 years BC. This epic is 3,000 years old. So it's much, much, much older than what we know about Bible writings. Why I'm saying that, in that epic of Gilgamesh, you will find gods who are really, there are lots of gods, they are really nasty, they are trying to squeeze things from people. They actually don't like people, that's why they kill them, but then they are afraid they'll die by themselves because, oh wow, this is we unleashed way too big of a power, so almost all gods die, so they feel super frightened by what they did. You know, it's very different than in the Bible. In the Bible, you find God is very deliberate, it's very controlled, and there is a reason why it's happening. So it's not the point of, you know, even what happened and at what year, but about this striking difference in explaining the nature of God. Hence, I will leave you, I'll stop trying to make amends with the first 11 chapters of Bible. We'll leave that to another time. The thing is, you know, and what really, again, surprised me to learn, you know, Bible is not scientific book, neither history book, and you can't find all the answers there. You can find lots of things there, but not necessarily all the answers, especially not when it comes to physics or geology and these things, because it's not meant to be written that way. It's a book about knowing God, where God reveals his special message to us. You know, we can see his majesty, and he's super organized, he's super patient. How we know that God is super patient from the nature? Well, you know, it trains on good and evil. You know, there are so many evil people that live 100-year old. You know, you see all these dictators causing wars, and then they live happy lives. Sometimes they die very, very old. You know, there are so many rapists, maybe walking even the streets of this city, and God doesn't kill them immediately. Hence, God is patient. He doesn't kill us immediately, or all nations for all that matter. You know, we can expect rain. We know there will be rain. Sometimes it's late, but there will be rain. God is organized, patient, and we can learn that from nature. We don't need Bible for that, right? But then from the Bible, we can learn about his mercy and how much he cares about us, and his plan that started with Adam and Eve, that is completed with Jesus to rescue mankind from evil. That's how we should make sure that we read Bible. Now, when you do science, you know, you need to study long and hard because it's methodological. It's complex. You don't go, you know, push the doctor and say, I will operate my wife's brain. No, you will leave that to neurosurgeon, because you got to study for, you know, many years and be super good in that, because it's super complex thing, right? Same, you know, and we give him a credit for that, and we understand that's important. Similarly, we give lots of credit to car mechanics, because, hey, car is important and this guy knows how to fix it. I don't want to make mess with it, you know, trying to fix it on my own. We do acknowledge that when it comes to, you know, God's work, nature, things around us, you know, it takes lots of studying and carefully applying the knowledge. Similarly, we need to be careful when applying the Bible. That doesn't mean that we all need to be theologians, that we all need to go to universities. But we need to be careful when reading too much into the Bible. Bible is a book with many answers, but is not meant to be the answer for everything. Otherwise, we wouldn't have science. There is one beautiful scripture I quoted so many times, and I will read that to you again. You can find it in Proverbs 25. Proverbs 25, verse 2. Slava je Božja skrivati stvar, a slava kraljevska istraživati.
It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. To search out a matter is the glory of kings.
And in next verse, just to make things completely put it into context, it says, Neistražljivo je nebo u visinu, zemlja u dubinu i srce kraljevsko.
As the heavens are high and the earth is deep, so the hearts of kings are unsearchable.
Unsearchable. So bottom line is, you can study all you want, but it's never ending thing. Similarly, studying Bible is never ending thing. We never end. We never come to the end. We never reach full knowledge. Science didn't reach all the knowledge about DNA or about universe or about the oceans. There is plenty to explore. We are at a far better place when it comes to science than our ancestors were. We don't need to be afraid. Let me put it this way, not to be afraid. If you have a brain cancer, there is still chance. 50 years ago, that was like, you're dead. You're done deal. No one can help you. There is nothing we can do about it. Now, there is a chance. Hence, science really made our lives better. We enjoy life. It's warm. We have electricity. We have internet. Life is good. You don't want to go back 50 years ago. You don't want to wash your clothes every day. There is no running water, so you got to go to Sava. This will be a terrible life. I don't want to go there. Science is improving. 100 years from now, we don't know what will happen. It will be, when it comes to the findings, it will be better than it is now. Science is advancing. Many of us had only analog phones. My village, first analog phone, that one with cord, came in 1991. There was no phone before that. And now everybody has a smartphone in their pocket. If you go, in Sahara, and you come to Timbuktu, you will see super poor people, but they have smartphones, and they are on WhatsApp and Instagram. It's incredible, right? Weird, but that's the world we live in, and science is improving. But there is plenty more to explore. We didn't arrive. We don't expect that science is definite. No, we are opening new frontiers. Similarly, when we read Bible, we need to have this, student-like approach where we really need to be careful how we interpret Bible. Yet, there is no way we will ever come to full knowledge. It's just a lifetime journey. It's fun, it's great, and some answers will remain unanswered until we get to heaven. To some answers, we may find to some questions, we may find answers. For example, I'll give you one example of how fun it is. We talked with Ed and Deb Anton, and start talking about some Bible verses. I don't know what was it all about, but I remember all of a sudden that there is, I found 2 scriptures about snake charmers. You know what is snake charmer? Шаптачи зміями. Have you ever heard about people who talk to animals to protect them from snakes? Well, maybe you watch it on some weird documentary. I know people who did that, who knew how to do it in my village. So they, it was always a secret. They would never tell it apart from a very trustful person who will inherit this skill, whatever that is. I don't know if it works, but that was their job. They would whisper something to animal ears to protect them from snakes. You find 2 Bible verses talking about that. Ed didn't know that. He said he'll study it. And apparently in Bible, it doesn't say we should do it. It doesn't condemn them nor commend them. It just states it, and apparently it works. So it's just like that. So what do you do with that? Is it a good thing? Is it sorcery? Is it a secret practice that I should strive to learn if I work with animals? Is it half lie, half truth? What is it? Doesn't say. We don't know. But I know that some people did that as long, maybe even 20 years ago in my village. So it's interesting. There are so many super interesting things like that in the Bible that you can study, and then sometimes you come to answers, sometimes you don't. But the thing is, Bible needs to be studied. Going back to my first 11 chapters of Genesis, I was disappointed I didn't get all the answers that I wanted. It still left me lingering, when did God exactly created Adam and Eve? I still have my theories because, Bible is not out of blue, but, it's not written to put Adam and Eve into exact here and exact place, give them, birth list or birth certificate. It's unconclusive, at least still to me, about Nephilim. Whether these were people, or some really strong people, or these are, semi-celestial, semi-humans, like when angels really went down to earth and, slept with women. Could that be possible? There are some theologians that claim it's also a possibility. What do I do with that? I don't know. It's just stated there and I really don't know what to do with it. So, well, there is plenty more to study. I have some additional 10, 20, 30 years to study these things, whether to come to conclusion or not. The point is, it's written for a specific reason. Majority of the Bible is a library. Bible is not a toolbox for everything. It's a library, and main thing is to get to know God. But then it's very different sometimes from our expectations. So we need to be diligent students of the Bible and strive to do our best, not to read what we want into it, but to get most out of it and try to apply it, try to understand God. One of the examples would be role of the women. They should sit and be silent because there are at least 3 scriptures saying that that's the role of the women. Shut up, women, and listen to men. That's how the world functions, right? From Adam and Eve to today. But I don't think that's what God intended. So we need to study that more, right? So we have works of God that talk about Him, book of works, and we have book of words. We should be really diligent in how to study it, how to get most out of it. It's a lifetime experience, and sometimes we won't get what we want, but what we are reading into it. It's not a scientific book, yet it goes well, with science. One note on Bible and science. Bible and science are not in collision. You just need to understand Bible is not science book. Hence, why try to replace or read scientific things into it? Bible is not a science book. But, if you really want, majority of the early scientists or modern day scientists were really believers of God. The reason why they studied science and come to different methodologies, experimenting, were their firm belief that God is God of order. And God put things into orderly world. Hence, if we try to, go to the smallest parts and try to understand how it works, and we try to replicate, it will work. So we'll be able to make something out of it. Their belief was God is God of order. Scientists in the beginning were not atheists. It only came with the enlightenment and in later stages where, you become super specialized and you're super puffed with your knowledge, so you decide you don't need God. But that would be, people who are super specialized are not good to explain everything. Sometimes when you are really deep, narrow in your area of expertise, you should stay there. Similarly, we shouldn't be trying to dismiss science just because we don't understand it, right? So we need to put everything together in a normal way, not overemphasizing something. Read Bible as a book of words from God. There will be lots of places you won't understand. Even Peter said that sometimes Paul is writing letters that are really, really hard to understand, but he doesn't say, don't read them. He just warns, some people twist its meaning, for the wrong purpose. So don't do that. Don't twist words. If you don't understand it, leave it as is. Read what you understand. But thing is, some parts of the Bible are super clear, super easy to understand. Others require deeper wrestling. Sometimes you need interpretation. And sometimes, which is super, super interesting, you need to take bits and pieces from different books, and then you get the whole picture. If you remember maybe a year or 2 years ago about this guy called Ahitophel. That guy is named in 2 Samuel as one of the advisors to King David. He was super smart. Eventually, he went to the side of Absalom, David's son, when David's son Absalom rebelled against David. So it was a civil war. And at that time, Absalom had wide support, much wider than David. And this guy, Ahitophel, went with Absalom. There is very little context why Ahitophel changed sides. But when you read very, very carefully bits and pieces of what happened prior to that, well, prior to that happened that David slept with Bathsheba, which was wife of one of his best friends. Not only that he slept with her, cheated his wives and his best friend, but also played tricks with his best friend in order to kill him, to cover up for his sin. And then later, when that baby died, he married Bathsheba and she gave birth to Solomon. Eventually, when you read very carefully, you find out that Ahithophel was Bathsheba's grandfather. And he hated what David did. He didn't talk with David. He just withdrew to his village. And he left there until the time of Absalom rebellion when he joined Absalom. So it must be that this guy was embittered. He hated what David did, didn't talk through, and then he saw his chance and fair opportunity to execute justice. That's why he went with Absalom. Wow, that gives so much context, right? It makes it so much more understanding why this guy who was David's advisor all of a sudden, betrayed him. That doesn't happen like this. There must be some background story. There it is. So exciting. When I read it, when I heard that, I didn't read it. I heard a sermon about it. I was like, oh, fantastic. Oh, by the way, that sermon was given by the women. So 2 women shared it. It was amazing. So guess what? Women can give great insights from the Bible, and they can preach. And it encouraged me. I didn't feel, womanized. I don't know what that be the right word, but I was just, it was just great message from the Bible. Didn't mean anything who delivered it, right? I'm just deliberately playing this into, this is one of the still modern world misconceptions. Although you find women everywhere in the positions of authority in universities, in companies, even governments, somehow in the church, no, that's not really common, says a man on the pulpit. Anyhow, this is not the topic, but the thing is, there are so many great things in the Bible. So what I want to tell you is, be a diligent student of the Bible. Be a diligent student of the Word. Don't read too much into the Bible. And when you're not sure, it's okay that you are not sure. Don't try to make your theology and read what is not there. Some examples would be, there are miracles in the Bible, and all the first Christians did miracles, we should do miracles. You need to study that carefully. Or we can also say, it is impossible for miracles to happen today. That would be me. I don't like this chiriba stuff. So, yeah, that was in first century. It doesn't happen today. I don't know. God can do anything, right? So it would be limiting God because of my own agenda or my own reactions to wrongdoings of certain people. So anyhow, we need to be really careful and diligent in studying the Bible. What will be the outcome? You will spend hours, but it will be fun. It will pay. It will pay out because you will be able to get to know God. You will be more closer to Him. You will be closer to each other. You will understand more. The more you understand things, it's easier for you to deal with it. Who is a mountain climber here? Who likes to climb mountains? Okay. Who is afraid of heights? Why you are afraid of heights?
I have some reaction without eyes.
So what you guys would tell to her? How to overcome it?
Maybe start small.
Start small. So you go, you practice, so you understand that you will not fall. Maybe you won't be climbing Mount Everest, but you can go and try and climb and fight that fear. And by knowing what you can, what your body can, what it feels like, climbing high, you will understand that, albeit you won't completely conquer that fear, you can handle it. So that's how things work. When we learn more, we are comfortable. People can walk into dark. When you're at home and there is a electricity shortage, you still can find your way to the bathroom, right? Because you know your apartment. Now go to someone else's, you'll hit the wall immediately because you don't know So that's what reading Bible brings: security, knowledge, you can navigate things, you can do things, you can be helpful to others.
Equipment helps.
Hmm?
Equipment helps.
Equipment also helps, yeah. So what is equipment in Bible reading? There are so many resources. There are so many Bible commentaries, Bible studies, and then also there is a omnipresent Google that can be also very helpful too. So, but the thing is, don't jump to conclusions, and then you try to be a diligent student of the Bible, So I'll leave you at that. I was very, I wasn't very disappointed, but I was emotionally unprepared when I took this book that I will not get my answers. After being disciples for 28 years, this was my finally, gateway to at least a couple of those big answers. And I got none of those. But I got whole different perspective that I never, ever understood. Now I'm still wrestling with it because sometimes when you get to some of the big ideas, it takes time for you to, think of it and digest it. But, it's fun. And I'm looking forward, one of the, in a couple of weeks, where we can start tackling this super fun topic about Genesis 11 first chapters. Until that time, just try to, understand and listen how God speaks to you through His works, as well as through His Word, and be careful and diligent student of the Bible. Okay?